Have you ever wondered what the biggest cybersecurity risk to your business actually is? Most business owners think it's hackers, ransomware, or outdated software, but after working with organizations that have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, I can tell you that's not the biggest threat. The biggest cybersecurity risk sitting inside your business today is probably one of your own employees. And it's probably not because they're careless, it's because cyber criminals have gotten frighteningly good at manipulating people. In this video, I'll show you why even companies with great cybersecurity still fall victim to attacks, the 5 most common ways employees accidentally open the door to cyber criminals, and the insurance coverage that can protect your business when human error turns into a 6-figure loss. But before we get into those examples, I think it's important to understand why this happens in the first place. Imagine you've built a medieval castle. You've got thick stone walls, a moat, watchtowers, and guards at every entrance. On paper, it's almost impossible to attack. But what if an enemy simply walked up to one of the guards and convinced them they were a trusted messenger, and the guard opened the gates? Suddenly, none of those defenses matter anymore. And that's exactly how modern cybercrime works. Most businesses spend a lot of money building stronger walls, better firewalls, antivirus software, multi factor authentication, and security monitoring, and every one of those things is important. But cyber criminals know something that most business owners overlook. It's usually much easier to trick a person than it is to beat the technology. That's why so many cyber losses don't begin with a hacker breaking into a network. They begin with an employee who's trying to do the right thing, but has been manipulated into opening the gate. And once you understand that, you'll start looking at cybersecurity in a completely different way. So, what does opening the gate actually look like inside a business? Here are 5 of the most common ways employees accidentally expose their organizations to cyber criminals. The first way employees accidentally expose their organizations is through what's called social engineering. Now, when most people hear the word cyber attack, they picture someone sitting in a dark room somewhere trying to hack into a computer network. But many of the biggest cyber losses that I've seen never started with someone hacking into a computer. They started with somebody picking up a phone. I had a client whose employee received a call from someone claiming to be from the bank's fraud department. The caller sounded professional, and they explained there had been suspicious activity on the account and they needed the help from the employee to investigate it. And as part of the process, they asked the employee to download an app. Everything sounded legitimate, so they followed the instructions. What the employee didn't realize was that they weren't helping to stop fraud, they were helping to commit it. And by the time the call ended, the employee had unknowingly authorized 10 wire transfers totaling more than $500,000. Think about that for a second. Their firewall didn't fail. Their antivirus software didn't fail. Their IT department didn't fail. A good employee who was genuinely trying to protect the company was manipulated into making what they believed was the right decision. And that's exactly why social engineering is so effective. Cyber criminals have learned that it's often much easier to manipulate a person than it is to break through layers of security technology. This is also where insurance becomes really important. A lot of business owners assume that if money is stolen through fraud, their standard business insurance policies will automatically cover it. And in many cases, it won't. The coverage you're looking for is often called social engineering coverage or cyber deception coverage, and it's typically included as part of a well-designed cyber insurance policy, not a standard package policy. Unfortunately, cyber criminals don't always convince people to send money directly. Sometimes they just convince them to send it to the wrong place. The second way this happens is through something called a man-in-the-middle attack. And honestly, this one is becoming incredibly common. If your business regularly sends money to vendors like subcontractors or suppliers, or even your own employees through direct deposit, this is something you need to be paying attention to. Here's how it works. An employee receives an email that appears to come from someone they already do business with. Maybe it's a vendor saying, "We've changed banks. Please update our payment information." Or maybe it's a subcontractor on an active construction project. Or maybe it's an architect or engineer you've worked with for years. Or maybe it's someone in HR getting what appears to be a request from an employee to change their direct deposit information. Everything looks legitimate. The company logo is there, the email signature looks right, the writing style seems familiar. In some cases, the cybercriminal has actually gained access to the real email account. So the request is coming from the correct email address inside an existing email chain. The employee updates the banking information. The next payment gets sent exactly where they were told to send it. And unfortunately, that bank account belongs to the criminal. Again, this isn't about having a careless employee. This is about a cyber criminal inserting themselves into an existing relationship between two people who already trust each other. That's why it's called a man in the middle attack. The good news is there's a very simple way to stop most of these attacks. Never change banking information solely on an email. Instead, pick up the phone and call the person using a phone number you already have on file, not the number in the email, and verify the request before sending any money. That simple 5-minute phone call can prevent hundreds of thousands of dollars in losses. And as convincing as these emails have become, the next threat is even more concerning because now cyber criminals don't just fake emails, they're starting to fake people. The third way employees accidentally expose their organizations is something that barely existed a few years ago: deepfakes. Artificial intelligence has become so good that criminals can now clone voices and even create realistic videos of people that you know. Imagine you're the CFO of a company. You receive what appears to be a video call from your CEO who's traveling overseas. They look like themselves, they talk like themselves, they tell you there's a confidential acquisition that's time sensitive and they need you to wire money immediately. They stress that nobody else can know about it. Everything about the conversation feels real, except it isn't. There have already been cases where employees have transferred millions of dollars because they believed they were speaking to an executive, when in reality they were talking to a convincing AI-generated fake. That's what makes this threat so dangerous. For years, we told employees, if you know the people, trust the request. But today, that's no longer enough. Seeing someone's face isn't proof it's really them. Hearing someone's voice isn't proof it's really them. If a request involves money, changing sensitive information, or doing anything unusual, there needs to be another layer of verification. Maybe that's a quick phone call to a known number. Maybe it's a second approval from another executive. Maybe it's an internal policy that says no large wire transfers happen based on a single request. Whatever your process is, the important thing is that your employees know they have to have permission and they have to slow things down and verify before acting, because cyber criminals are counting on urgency. They're counting on authority, and they're counting on good employees wanting to be helpful. But they don't always need you to wire money. Sometimes all they need is one click. The fourth way employees accidentally expose their organizations is probably the one you've experienced the most: phishing emails. Think about your inbox today. How many emails did you receive that looked completely legitimate? A package delivery notification, a Microsoft login alert, a QuickBooks invoice, a DocuSign request, a message from your bank, a shared document from a coworker. The scary part is that these emails are getting better every day. Thanks to AI, they're cleaner, they're better written, and they're much more convincing than they were even a couple of years ago. All it takes is one employee clicking a link, opening an attachment, or entering their username and password into a fake website. Once that happens, the cyber criminal may have everything they need to get inside your network. And here's what's important to understand: your cybersecurity may be doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Your firewall may be working perfectly. Your email filtering may catch thousands of malicious emails every single day. But eventually, one is going to make it through. And when it does, the last line of defense isn't your technology, it's your employee. That's why employee cybersecurity awareness training is just as important as buying good cybersecurity software. The goal isn't to create paranoid employees, it's to create employees who pause, who question unexpected requests, who take an extra 30 seconds before clicking. Because sometimes that 30-second pause is the difference between deleting a fake email and spending the next 6 months recovering from a cyber attack. And there's one last risk that many businesses create themselves without even realizing it. The fifth way employees accidentally expose their organizations is a little different because nobody is trying to steal money, at least not at first. Most of the time, employees are simply trying to make their jobs easier. Maybe they check work email on their personal laptop while they're at home. And maybe they save company files to their own Dropbox account so they can work over the weekend. Maybe they use their personal phone to access company systems. Or maybe they copy confidential information into an AI tool to help write an email or summarize a document. None of these decisions feel dangerous in the moment. In fact, they're usually made with good intentions. The problem is that your IT department probably has little or no control over those personal devices or applications. They don't know if the device has antivirus software. They don't know if it's encrypted. They don't know if it's running the latest security updates. And they certainly can't protect information that's been copied into an application they don't even know is being used. This is what is known as shadow IT. It's when employees use technology that exists outside your company's approved systems and security controls. And it's becoming a major source of cyber claims because organizations spend thousands of dollars securing company devices while sensitive information quietly makes its way onto devices and applications that aren't protected nearly as well. The solution isn't telling your employees they can never work remotely or use new technologies. It's giving them clear policies. Make it easy for employees to know what tools they're allowed to use. Give them secure alternatives that are just as convenient and explain why those policies exist. Because when people understand the reason behind the rule, they're much more likely to follow it. At the end of the day, every one of these examples has something in common. None of those employees came to work intending to hurt their company. They were trying to do their jobs. They were trying to help. They were trying to move quickly. And that's exactly what cyber criminals exploit. The biggest takeaway from this video isn't that your employees are the problem, it's that they're your first line of defense. Technology matters, firewalls matter, multi-factor authentication matters, cyber insurance matters. But if your employees don't know what to look for, or they don't feel empowered to slow down and verify something that doesn't seem right, you've left the front gate open. And that's exactly where today's cyber criminals are attacking. Now, if this video convinced you that your employees are often the biggest cybersecurity risk your business faces, the next question is, what happens if something still goes wrong? That's where cyber liability insurance comes in. And unfortunately, not all cyber insurance policies are created equal. Some leave out critical coverages that business owners don't realize they need until it's too late. So in this next video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 critical coverages every business owner should have in a cyber liability policy, what each one does, and why they can make the difference between surviving a cyber attack and paying for it out of your own pocket. Click right here, and I'll see you in that video.